welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm your host, Pete Mezzetti. My guest this evening is Glenn Lungarini, who's the Executive Director of CAS CIAC. Glenn,
Pete,
welcome, buddy. How are you? Good to see you again.
Very well, Pete. Thanks. It's great to be back on the show with you again.
I know what's going on. It's been a while. What's new?
Well, you know, we got through a pretty good summer, and a lot of kids were able, and our coaches able to refresh, and we're ready to go for a good fall season. At this point, we have all of our fall sports up and operating. Football started a couple weeks ago, and so they're in full scrimmages now. All of our other sports started on August 26th, and we're excited to get kids back on campus, in classrooms, learning, and on the fields as much as normal as possible.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what do you think the school year is going to look like? You
know, it's still going to be a little bit of a challenge, Pete. We're still dealing with COVID, right? But we expected that. Listen, we knew that COVID was still going to be here. It's a virus. It's a virus that likes to live. It adapts. We see the various variants that are out there, and we expect that to continue.
Right.
But we spent a lot of time last year not only putting in place mitigating strategies that we thought would make things safer for kids, but we really looked and studied at that. We collected a lot of data on it. We worked with our colleagues across the country. And even though we have some increasing numbers right now, we believe we've learned how to do this safely. We can continue to engage kids. You know, whether COVID is here or not, our kids need to be in classrooms. Our kids need to be involved in structured physical activity. They need that relationship building from a social, emotional, mental health perspective. So we're excited to offer that, and the best thing we can do to keep our kids there, Pete, is going to be get vaccinated. So we're
absolutely.
Yeah, we've joined the Connecticut DPH and the governor's office, really trying to message this out. You know, encouraging those who are eligible for vaccinations to, you know, get the research, get the education on it, and you know, take that step and get vaccinated.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's actually a very important point, to get out there and get vaccinated, especially if you're in the age bracket that they're experiencing, especially now.
It's going to keep you in the game, Pete, and that's the biggest thing, right? If you're vaccinated and you become a close contact, you're not going to need to quarantine. So you'll have to wear a mask for at least 3 days. At the 3-day mark, you can take a test, and if that test is negative, then after 3 days, you can take the mask off and continue with your instruction, continue with play on the field or you know, on the courts. But you know, in the classroom too, it's so important to have our kids in that in-person learning and that face-to-face instruction. And this is going to keep those kids in the classroom as well. So, and it's impacting us already. You know, we do see, I think right now we have 4 or 5 football teams that are quarantined. And you know, there was a close contact, and with only, I think right now, of the teams that are quarantined, only about 30% of the team was vaccinated. So there wasn't enough kids to practice.
Right.
So, you know, it's not that kids are experiencing symptoms necessarily, and you know, if they were vaccinated, they would be able to continue to play.
Right.
But unfortunately, not enough kids were vaccinated, so the team had to take that 10-day break. So it is critically important. It's going to keep our kids in the game if they can get vaccinated.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, as far as masks in school, how's that gonna work?
Yeah, we have a mandate right now. Well, there's 2 things that are important, I think, from a school standpoint and an athletic standpoint.
Sure.
So the mask mandate is in effect through September 30th.
Right.
And with that mandate, you know, our kids in school buildings are going to wear masks. So CIAC, with putting together our plan for the fall and our strategies, anything that we have going on in a building, we're going to align with that, and our kids are going to wear masks. So what that means is volleyball, which is an indoor sport, will wear masks for play. Swimming, which is an indoor sport, obviously they're not going to wear a mask in the pool, but for all activities around that, they'll wear a mask.
Right.
Our teams that are outside, they don't need to mask at this point, but if they have inclement weather and they move indoors for practice, or they go inside to use a weight room, for those activities, if they're in the school building, they'll put a mask on.
Okay.
We did this last year for the winter. We did it for part of the spring. Our kids were able to play sports in masks. We didn't have any issues with it. In fact, in volleyball, we played last fall and last spring, including state tournaments with masks, and we're very successful with it. So I don't think that's going to be a hindrance at all, and our kids can do it safely, our coaches can do it safely. The other big thing, I think, is looking at the vaccination mandate for
Yes.
Public school employees, right? So that impacts coaches. Coaches are paid employees of public schools. So again, our coaches would need to comply with that, where by September 27th, they need to at least have their first shot and that second shot scheduled, or there would be the testing component, weekly testing, if you're not vaccinated, but that is not a responsibility of the school districts to pay for. So that would be on the individual staff member to be able to get that weekly test. So, but again, the way that you avoid that, just take the shot.
Absolutely.
So.
I've had mine for a couple months. I had my last vaccination back in April.
Yep. Yeah. And same here, Pete. I mean, as soon as I was eligible to get it, we went and got it. Our whole family that is age eligible, did get vaccinated, and it just seems the right thing to do for our family as well as for everybody else, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. How many schools that you guys deal with actually have swim teams?
Yeah, it's a pretty good percentage. I think we have about 70% of our member schools have swim teams.
Oh, wow.
So it's,
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it is a strong sport. Like a lot of other sports too, we start to see some of those numbers decreasing a little bit with the number of kids on the team, but it is still a pretty strong sport that's going right now. I'll tell you, one of the biggest challenges in swimming is in the postseason finding venues to run championships at, because there's just not a lot of swim venues in Connecticut with seating and and capacity to bring fans in, and that might continue to be a challenge this year. Really, I mean, Yale is the best place for that. They're at Payne Whitney, the facility that they have there, the seating is really tremendous, but a lot of our colleges and universities aren't letting outside groups on campus yet.
Right.
They want to see what this semester looks like and bringing their kids back. And so, some of those venues we've used for championships are not going to be available to us again this fall.
I remember back in the 80s and 90s, my brother actually coached swimming for Xavier, and they swam at Woodrow Wilson in Middletown.
Wow, yeah. And in Middletown, we use Wesleyan's facility.
Okay, sure.
Another beautiful facility, but again,
I've never been up to the facility in Middletown.
It's great. Beautiful facility, but again, another college campus.
Right, exactly.
So access is limited right now.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And we gotta mention, how closely do you guys work with NFHS?
Very closely. I mean, the NFHS, obviously the federation is the overarching governing body.
Okay.
So anything that you would consider doing in terms of a rules modification or, a mitigating strategy that would impact the way that the game is played would need to be approved by the NFHS. Right. And they've done a tremendous job. They've really been out in front and communicating with us, with each sport, what mitigation strategies would be possible. They've been leaders, not only in sports and helping us navigate through COVID, but also they have done a tremendous amount of work in the area of music. They financed and supported studies to look at the aerosolization of COVID when playing music instruments, to look at safety of singing in rooms, so your choirs, your band, when they're indoors, when they're outdoors, when you're blowing into instruments, how far you may need to be able to safely have the COVID droplets dissipate before, or respiratory droplets dissipate before they get to the next person. So I'll tell you, NFHS has been a leader in safety protocol for a number of activities, including sports.
Absolutely, and our friend, the executive director.
Well, Carissa
Carissa.
She does an amazing job, and we're in a year right now where we're celebrating 50 years of Title IX, right?
That's right.
And I really, you can't find somebody that's been more impactful, I think, in leadership positions in athletics, high school athletics, than Carissa. From her work as a high school coach to a principal, to her work here in Connecticut as executive director, now as executive director. as the National Federations in high school. She has been a tremendous leader in multiple sports, including field hockey, where she'll be honored a little bit later this fall as an inductee into the Field Hockey Hall of Fame here in Connecticut. And yeah, Carissa has just been a tremendous leader and a great friend throughout this process.
Now, what is Title IX? I know we talked about it last time we were together, and we can maybe...
Yeah, I mean, you know, so Title IX just very generally, you know, creates equitable opportunities for the playing of sports as well as other activities. So ensuring that men and women have equal and equitable opportunities when it comes to participation in events, activities, and so on.
Absolutely. And now, obviously, you guys also work with CABE.
We do. We work very closely with our boards of education, and you know, I know we have a mutual friend there, and Bob Rader, the executive director,
Absolutely.
And Patrice McCarthy, who's over there as well and provides legal counsel and support.
Okay.
And Patrice, we see constantly up at the Capitol, and along with Bob, and doing great work. And you know, everybody has been challenged by this, right? Whether it's superintendents, it's been boards of ed, it's been,
absolutely.
But those boards of ed have really had some tough decisions to make. And you know, I again appreciate Bob's leadership. He talks with me constantly. I've had opportunities through Bob and his boards to meet with the chairpersons of boards throughout the state to keep them informed of what we're doing from a principal standpoint, from an athletic standpoint, and it's been a great collaboration. And you know, again, I think as we've gone through this, can't stress enough the teamwork it takes to navigate your way through a pandemic that none of us had a playbook or training, you know, to go through. But it's been great leadership in CABE and CAPS and CEA that has helped bring us to this point.
Glenn, would you mind sticking around for another segment?
Be a pleasure.
All right, we'll be right back.
Our fellow Americans.
Right now, the COVID-19 vaccines are available to millions of Americans.
And soon, they will be available to everyone.
The science is clear. These vaccines will protect you and those you love from this dangerous and deadly disease.
They could save your life.
So we urge you to get vaccinated when it's available to you.
That's the first step to ending the pandemic and moving our country forward. It's up to you.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm Pete Mezzetti, sitting here with Glenn Lungarini, from Executive Director of CAS CIAC. Welcome back, my friend.
Thanks, Pete.
Thanks, Glenn. All right, so let's talk about when this all started to where we are now.
Yeah, the biggest difference is a year of knowledge, understanding, and data that we have to work with today that, you know, we didn't have a year ago as we were getting into this. You know, last year we were grateful for the opportunities that we were able to provide kids, and we were able to compete in all of our sports with the exception that we didn't get full 11v11 contact football in, and we didn't get to have a competitive wrestling season last year. But again, in both of those sports, there's frequent close contact between individuals. So, you know, a little bit more just needed to be learned about that before we felt comfortable moving forward. And, you know, we're in that position now. We've been able to understand what strategies work. We've been able to understand more about, you know, how COVID reacts on surfaces. Again, variants we have to pay attention to and see, you know, how that may change the landscape as we move along. But we're comfortable right now in playing all of our sports. You know, football has been going since August 16th with practice. They're having scrimmages, and again, we're able to do that successfully right now. The key to us doing it, as we said in the first segment, is you know, vaccinate. So if we can get our kids to you know, to take that step and get vaccinated if they're eligible. They'll stay on the fields a little longer.
One person, besides you guys at CIAC and the boards of education and superintendents, the other person that probably is having a hard time with all this are all your athletic directors from all the different schools.
Yeah, you know,
that's got to be a challenge.
Well, it is a challenge, and we're fortunate to have, again, great leadership there with our, Fred Balsamo, longtime executive director of the Connecticut Association of Athletic Directors, does a great job in providing support for his ADs. They have a tremendous board of directors themselves with a lot of experience, and they've, again, done a great job. I think whether you're a principal, you're an AD, or a superintendent, our goal has always been to do what's in the best interest of the kids.
Right.
And so we want kids active. Everybody wants to play sports. We want to play all sports. So we have over 70,000 athletes a year who participate in interscholastic athletics. That's more than 40%. I think it's more than 43% of the kids who are enrolled in grades 9 through 12 in Connecticut. Mm-hmm. So by far, it's the biggest extracurricular activity that we have in our schools.
Absolutely.
And that's the responsibility of our athletic directors. What a great responsibility it is. So
absolutely.
A lot of credit to them for the work that they've done. They continue to do, providing safe activities for our kids.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now let's talk about the vaccination and wearing masks.
Yeah, so the vaccination, I think now with FDA approval, hopefully that gives a little bit more confidence to people to go out and get vaccinated.
Right.
And we hear a lot of in times in sports about competitive advantages that some communities may have over others if they could afford to send kids to camps and various things. Well, the vaccine is something that again, through the work of the governor's office and the Department of Public Health, this is available to everybody.
Absolutely.
This is not something that you get more access to in one community over the other. Everybody has access to be able to go get a vaccine.
Right.
Connecticut has been a leader across the country. Our numbers have been terrific in people getting vaccinated, but that demographic in school, that's that 12-year-old to 18-year-old demographic. We got to pick those numbers up a little bit more, and hopefully our athletes answer that call.
Absolutely. Now, what about for especially fall sports? What about spectators?
Yeah, we're at full capacity right now for spectators, so we're going to follow what the Department of Health, the governor's office, and our sector rules around right now. So we're at full capacity. We would just remind our spectators that be aware that other communities are going to experience surges and COVID metrics a little bit differently throughout the state.
Absolutely.
So when you go to a swim event, when you go to a volleyball event, you're going into a school. There's a mandate right now that you wear masks when you're in school buildings. Right. When you go to those school buildings, you're going to need to wear a mask. Mm-hmm. Most of our events, a lot of our events are broadcast online as well. So if you're not comfortable or you don't feel you can meet that expectation of wearing the mask, maybe you can catch the game online or watch it somewhere there. Outdoors, we're not requiring masks at this time, but it doesn't mean that a given school may require that. Again, depending on where their numbers are. Right. Listen, this is about the kids. We want the kids to play.
Absolutely.
There shouldn't be any issue. Fans can get to the game. They can watch the game. Whatever you have to do to get there, please just be compliant. Understand that we're doing the best we can to keep our kids safe and keep them in the game.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Especially now, because I remember last year with football, there were no spectators.
Well, there's no football last year.
Yeah, there was no football last year either.
We played 7v7, but we didn't have the the full contact games. But you're right. There were a lot of schools. Our recommendation last year was to not have fans, and again, we didn't have a vaccine at that point.
No.
We didn't. There were a lot of things that we were still learning about sports and how the virus interacted. At that time, we still weren't sure, how the virus lived on surfaces and what the risk was. So again, we've learned a lot more about that over the past year. So we do have a better understanding. We can do it safe. I'd say one of the big things we did with CIAC state championships in the spring, Pete, is we went to digital ticketing. So it eliminated the touch points of money, eliminated the touch points of tickets. Everything was right there on the phone, and it was so successful for us last year. We're not going back. So for CIAC state championships, it'll be digital ticketing from this point forward. And that's a step we're, again, encouraging some of our schools to take a look at in a way that you can eliminate some of those touch point and close contact interactions with people.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned that if you can't make it to a game, you can watch online. How's that possible?
Yeah, so you know, a lot of this is through the NFHS network, and a lot of the schools that we have worked with the NFHS in a program that brought cameras called Pixel-Lock cameras to their fields and their gyms. It's a camera that's designed to follow the action. If you have a student broadcast team or a broadcast crew that comes in, they can plug in and do color commentary and play-by-play action as well. But if not, then you just get the feed of the game, and you could log on to the NFHS network and select your school and view from there. It's a great program.
Oh, cool. So how long have you been with CIAC?
I am in my 4th year now at CIAC, and you know, it's gone by awful quick, Pete. 2 years of a pandemic, or you know, at least a year and a half, and you know, so it has been quite an experience and has gone quickly. But I'd say we're really proud that even through the pandemic, we found ways to engage our kids from a distance. Whether it was work in PSAs that we did, bringing our leadership and equity boards together through Zoom meetings and online. The great work of John Holt and our media production company to produce the Scholar Athlete Banquet and the Arts Awards, and run those on TV and local cable TV. Just great work by our staff and our team to keep kids engaged.
How many people do you guys have on staff?
Well, we've recently reduced staff as well. You know, just like any other small business, you know, COVID has been tough. So, you know, we made some adjustments, and you know, we were fortunate with you know, being able to get some funding through the PPP loans. But you know, we did reduce staff a little bit with what we have and adjust some hours right now. So I think overall, Pete, we're right in the mid-20s, about 25, 26 employees. But again, that includes the CAS side, the principal side, and the academic side, as well as CIAC and the athletic side. On the CIAC side, we only have 2 full-time employees, myself and Greg Simon, our Associate Executive Director.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've never met John Holt. Good guy?
Oh, John's terrific. I'd say just
maybe one of these days.
Yeah, he's such a talented man, and just and what's been so important through this and making connections through distance is your ability to tell a story. And John's just such a great storyteller and an artist from that end. I'd say we're so fortunate to work with John.
I saw a public service announcement that you guys put out recently about the vaccination. I think it was you guys sent it out on Twitter.
The recent one that you saw, I think, was done by New Haven. So the 3 athletes playing basketball. Yeah. Yep, that was done by the New Haven Public Schools. Again, talk about great athletic directors and administrators. Eric Peczkowski over in New Haven does a tremendous job, and he does a tremendous amount of work in COVID within the New Haven community and the schools over there. So that was a great one that's coming out. You'll see one from us. We were just doing some shooting today. We'll do a little bit more this week. So we're going to have a PSA on the vaccines coming out in Spanish, and with a couple athletes and one of our staff members from CIAC. Because again, our Black and Brown communities have been hit especially hard. Oh, absolutely. By COVID, and we want to make sure that our Spanish-speaking communities are getting the messages that we're putting out there. So we're going to be, you'll see that from us coming out in the next week or so. Oh, nice. No, you guys are a very busy organization. And now it's back to school time. Thank you. It's great. We're so happy again. As educators, there's nothing better, than having the kids on campus, and we are education-based athletics. Our #1 priority is getting kids in the classroom, engaging them in instruction, and then extending that curriculum through interscholastic athletics. So we're so grateful to have them back on campus full time. I was going to say it's fun. Now, most of the schools are
fully in this year?
Everybody's fully in.
Okay.
Yeah, so everybody's fully in this year, and you know, again, hopefully we continue to do well. Again, I think we've done such a good job in learning so much about contact tracing. It's become a fairly efficient system that you know, we could deal with the cases as they come up more effectively, efficiently than we have in the past, and keep those kids in in-person instruction.
Absolutely. And if people want more information on CAS CIAC, where are they going?
Right to our website, casciac.org. Once you're there, you'll have a choice to go to the CAS side or the CIAC side.
And what types of information can they find?
Well, there's on the CAS side, both sides, you're going to find a lot of information about the programs we run.
Okay.
Certainly, the awards that we have, and all of our fall sport plans and mitigation plans right now are up, and each season we'll have those up as well.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, Glenn Lungarini from the CAS CIAC. We're about to run out of time, but before we do, I want to thank you for coming down.
Always a pleasure, Pete. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Glenn. On behalf of Glenn Lungarini, I'm Pete Mezzetti. Thanks, good night, and we'll see you next time.